Hey everyone, welcome back. And I'm so excited. We have a star speaker after a star speaker. And right now I have David Jackson, who's going to, with a company called the Customer.co. And David is going to talk about success by design.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining me. The subtitle of this is Notes from a CS Heretic, and that's because a lot of people think that some of the things I talk about is not mainstream CS, but I'm going to argue just the opposite. So a little bit about me. I am older than it looks in that photograph, actually. I've been around quite a while. I founded one of the UK's first SaaS companies back in 2000. I was its CEO for 15 years. Bootstrapped it, led it through 2 liquidity events. But before that, actually, I've had a fascination with customers since day dot. And that's a red thread that's run right through my career. Since leaving ClickTools, I have set up my own consulting and coaching company. And what I do mainly is coaching CEOs and CS leaders about building company-wide customer success capability. I'm delighted to say, very proud and humble to say, that I've been voted as a top 25 CS strategist for this year and last year. This year's announcement's just come literally a couple of days ago. What I want to talk about is these 3 things. I want to talk about some of the problems that I see with customer success at the moment. It's young, but it's got some growing pains. I'm going to briefly talk about the 7 principles of customer success, which is the focus and the content of my latest book. And I want to talk about the core of that, which is 4 interrelated frameworks, which is all about building customer-led growth, building customer success by design. So let's start with a question. My first question is, what do you think the purpose of a B2B SaaS company is? And by the way, in context, 95% of the work I do is with B2B SaaS companies. So just put some thoughts in the chat and we'll share those later on. So I'll just give you a minute to think about, why does a B2B SaaS company exist? And I'll answer my own question in a moment. Okay, well, here's my answer. And there's 2 parts to it. A B2B SaaS company exists to build products that convert value to customers into revenue for your company. Now, there's a few things that I've highlighted in there. Products, we are building a SaaS by definition is fundamentally a product company. The focus of what that product does, what the whole business does, is about delivering value to customers. And the byproduct of that, the most important byproduct of that, is revenue for our companies. It's growth. And once you understand that it's about value for customers, that's the red thread that runs right through a B2B SaaS company. So once you've figured out who your customers are, and we'll talk a little bit more about this and what value means to them, then all a B2B SaaS company does is it markets that value, it explains and sells that value, the product should deliver that value, and CS, customer success, customer experience, professional services, the other teams around that, core to the business, actually enable that value and convert it into revenue growth. So it's this red thread. And the important thing is it's a red thread. From a use case and product perspective, there should, across the company, be one view of what value to customers means. And we're going to unpack that a little bit later on. So that's my understanding of I started a B2B SaaS company because we found a need, and that was to collect feedback from customers and others. We built the product to do that. That was called ClickTools. We delivered value to customers, and that's what gave us our growth. So actually, most SaaS companies start with the concept of customer success at its heart. The reason for starting a SaaS company is to deliver customer success, to deliver value to customers that turns into revenue. Now, as I say, I've been fascinated by the whole field of customers for a long time. And just to give you some idea of what I see as some of the gaps between what we talk about in customer success and what actually happens. So the first is, we all talk about how important it is to understand our customers, but in my experience, we don't go anywhere near into sufficient depth about understanding who they are, what they're all about. The second is There's a lot of talk about adoption, and adoption is absolutely crucial. But just to give you an example, at ClickTools, adoption quite often gets converted into, are they using our product? Which often gets converted into, are they logging in? Now, my company was very successful, not because lots of people logged in every day, not because lots and lots of people used it in terms of actually using the app every day. What they used was the way that the app worked. So we collected feedback. We had got a really novel and unique way of putting that into CRM in an actionable form. But it's not about adopting the product. It's actually about what value, measurable value, can you deliver? So I often think that, we focus a lot on adoption and onboarding. They are absolutely crucial. That's a bit like saying, I've won the race, having run up one lap and crossed the finishing line and saying I've won, when actually it's a 10,000 meter race. It's a marathon. So it's not just about adoption, it's about ongoing, iterative, repeatable value. The other thing is, I think one of the biggest problems that we've got in customer success is this very simplistic pyramid approach to segmentation, which basically says high touch, medium touch, low touch, and you're put into one of those categories based on how much you spend with us. Now, affordability is absolutely key. But I can tell you from bitter experience that the amount of money that a customer pays does not relate to the type of service and support and enablement that they need and want. So we conflate and we confuse these two things. Segmentation should be about identifying a group of customers that we can act together on. And just taking a revenue or even a revenue potential based approach misses the point completely. The fourth is we get hung up. I'm active on LinkedIn, and I see lots and lots of comments that says, well, actually, customer success is a part of customer experience. And actually, customer success is different to customer service. And that's different to customer support. And actually, customer experience is the most important thing. Ask your customers if it matters what you call it. And we get hung up about, well, it's customer experience, it's customer support, it's different from that. And that takes us away from the real focus, which is not on what's called, which is actually what we do to deliver value to customers. The other thing that we do quite often is we measure the wrong things. So there was a really good group, customer success leaders, a couple of years ago, did a poll amongst their members that said, what are the leading metrics for customer success? And the common ones that came back were net revenue retention, gross revenue retention, logo churn, net promoter score, expansion penetration, in other words, how many customers are buying more from us. Now, they're all very important measures, but they miss one important point. None of those are measures of your customer success. They're all measures of your success. And if we can't put our hand on our heart and say, we know how to measure the success of our customers, how can we claim to be in customer success? And the final saying doing gap is one of the things I find the biggest one is customer success is a company-wide philosophy. Customer experience is a company-wide philosophy. Well, yeah, everybody says that, but how many companies actually build that in? So what I'm going to talk about is very much focusing on this last one, but we will cover some of the others as well. And this is, I think, sums up the problem that lots and lots of companies face. This is a quote from a guy called Chen Zhou, who was one of the first 12 employees at Salesforce and went on to create a very successful company called Zuora, which is in the subscription billing business, wrote a great book called Subscribe. And he said, when in doubt, we tend to build another vertical silo. And that's the mistake we've made with customer success. Everybody says it's a company-wide philosophy, and they says, actually, we've got a customer success department, let's leave it to them. And I'm going to argue that actually it is a company-wide philosophy and approach, and you need to actively build that. So here are the 7 principles, and I will put a flag out for the book. This is what my latest book is built around. See this as a financial strategy. We don't do it because it's nice to do. That's great, but we do it because it's nice to do and it makes money for us. I'm going to talk very much around success by design. It's a purposeful act. I'm going to talk about why we shouldn't be talking about customers, but we need to be thinking about people. And that we think about people, we need to build a really deep understanding of what value means to them And that if you do that, actually success is selling. I'll talk a little bit more about this. And we need to think about how we build processes and systems and capabilities and tools that allow them to do what they need to do, not what you think they need to do. And the final thing is code scales better than people. I've got some numbers behind this that actually, if you think about the principles, the core purpose of a B2B SaaS company, it is about building product that delivers value that converts to revenue. So those are 7 principles. So let's go into a little bit detail. The first thing is, when I talk about success by design, there's a great quotation from an American called Arthur Jones. It said, all organizations are perfectly designed to get the results they get. It's a truism. And the corollary of that is that if you're getting certain results, it's because that's the way your organization has been designed. Perhaps quite often accidentally, not purposefully. So if you want to change the results, you've got to change the way that your organization is designed. And that is not about who reports to whom, lines and boxes, reporting relationships. It's actually about these things. It's about building an organization that has shared vision and values. And by the way, that customers are very probably a part of that vision and those values. It's about being crystal clear across the whole organization what an ideal customer profile is, and I'll give you my view as to what it is. It's about understanding the entire life cycle of the customer, what I call the engagement blueprint. Not detailed customer journeys, but a company-wide view and agreement as to the stages that a customer goes through, not that you go through. This is not about your processes. This is about the stages that they go through in that life cycle. And if you know who you're targeting and what they're going through, then you start to build what I call a value framework, which is how value is represented and relates to the different pieces. And then the final piece is metrics. And I want to focus on these last 4. Before I do, let me just reiterate this relationship between value and revenue. And the best way I can think to describe this is like the double helix of DNA. That if you focus on delivering value, all you're doing all the time is going up this strand of DNA and throwing off bonds. And that bond says, I've added this value, that's going to help me with retention. I've added this value, that's going to help with retention. I've added this value, perhaps to somebody different, that's going to help with retention. I've identified this value that's important to you, but you don't have the capability. That link to value is an upsell opportunity. So the more we focus on building processes that bind together these 2 arms of this double helix, the better we'll be. And the first part of that is about, the first framework is about being crystal clear about your ideal customers. Now, to me, this has got 3 important parts. The first part is what a lot of companies do, and that's the target companies. What are the characteristics of the companies that can benefit from our products and services? What industry are they in? How big are they? What level of maturity are they? That type of thing. The second thing, which I think is the most important part of an ideal customer profile, are what I call role profiles. Who are the people that we are dealing with, and what are their challenges? How are they measured? What do they have to do? And we have to understand that both from a selling perspective, how do they think about buying, but also the people that we serve. So that's where I talk about forgetting the faceless customer, that actually customer success is about delivering value to these individuals at their point in time in their journey. And that's where the situational factors come into play, because their journey is shaped by the context that they find themselves in. You can have exactly the right target company, exactly the right profile, but if they're not in a particular situation, their propensity to buy and their need for value is very different. So understanding these situational factors, the determinants of when they are ready to act, right across that engagement cycle is what you really need to do. Second framework, the engagement blueprint. And this is how I depict it. So, sorry. And I think of it as a bit like a belt. I know other people think of it as a flywheel. But that first part is about acquisition. It's about getting new companies, new logos to buy your products and services. But once you've got them, And by the way, the basis of getting them in the first place is, what does value mean to the people that you're talking to there? So selling and marketing is all about communicating and convincing people of the value that you can add. And by the way, once you've got them, once they've signed that initial deal, all you do then is you just go through this belt buckle. And that belt buckle effectively is that DNA. It's revenue, value, value, revenue, value, revenue, value, revenue, value, revenue all the time. So you are continually delivering new types of value and higher levels of value, and continually throwing off retention and expansion opportunities. And if you do that really well, you get another benefit, which is that little bit of belt buckle which sticks out at the end, which is you get people saying, this is great. I'm telling my colleagues about that. I'm telling my friends about this. I'm telling people in my networks about this. And that brings you around to the beginning of the belt again. So understanding what this looks like at a high level is a second framework that I think you have to master. The third is what I call the value framework. And this is, if you know the people, the individuals, in other words, that bit at the top, the profile, the role profile, then you start to understand, what are their pain and gains? What are their goals? What are they trying to achieve? And then that relates to what sort of issues and capability are they trying to build or address, which points you to how they measure these things. So what are the leading and lagging indicators, that's value metrics and business impact, that they're interested in? And that's where you start to say, well, if you've got this pain and gain, this is how you want to think about measuring it. And here's the products and features in our product that help you do that. And by the way, value elements, what I call these little packages of help and support and enablement that keep you getting better and better and better. And understanding what this looks like collectively, so that marketing have got the same value, sales are talking about the same value, product is delivering the same value, customer success, professional services, all delivering the same value thread. And I've actually built one of these, a piece of software for one of my customers, which is really powerful because it brings together in one place an understanding of what value means. It's a great tool, for example, for onboarding new people in marketing, in sales, in product, in customer success. It's a great tool for starting to say, ooh, the customer's talking about this pain and gain point. Well, this is how our products and services help that. And you can start to build a much, much richer picture. So that's the third framework. The fourth framework is common metrics. One of the biggest challenges I think lots of organizations have got is that they think of themselves as processes and departments. So we've got marketing, and that's targeted at getting, a number of marketing qualified leads, and it's, and it probably bonuses its people on the number of qualified leads that it gets. And sales, well, they're obviously measured on the number of sales that they get and the activity that goes into that. Customer success, perhaps on retention and expansion, product on again, perhaps retention. The problem with this is that because we build these metrics, again, to match our silos, it tends to drive competition rather than collaboration. And what we need to do, if we think about building a truly customer-focused organization, is say to people, what is it from our perspective that brings the whole organization together? And I think there are probably two or three. Net revenue retention is a big favorite. Customer lifetime value to CAC ratio. I like that one because not only is it about the revenue side, but it also brings the cost side into it. And customer satisfaction. There's no point in having great revenue retention without great customer satisfaction, or NPS, however you want to, or customer effort score, however you want to measure that. So I think the fourth framework is making sure that the metrics that you've got in place are complementary, not competitive. And this made a huge difference. One of the things I did at ClickTools, when we got a lot of issues around marketing and sales not being able to so marketing would say, look at all these leads we've got, you're not doing anything with them. And sales would say, but they're all crap leads. And if you looked at the metrics, they were just banging up against each other. So we did this work around ideal customer profiles, engagement blueprint, starting to understand value. But the other thing we did is I put everybody in our company, not a massive company, only 50, 60 people, we put everybody on the same bonus plan. And that bonus plan was revenue growth times customer satisfaction. Everybody. By the way, that was marketing, that was sales, that was CS, that was PS. It was people in HR, it was the people in finance, it was the management team. Everybody had the same bonus. And we used to report that. We used to report that at our monthly all-hands meeting, said, look, this is where we are on the revenue number. This is where we are on the customer sat number. So everybody knew what they had to achieve. And the biggest change was the amount of collaboration just skyrocketed because everybody was focused on the same thing. If I was to do that again now, I'd also want to include in there some measure of customer value. So they're the 4 frameworks, but what you start to do individually, very powerful, but when you do is you start to bring them together and you start to figure out that if I know what value means to these key people, these role profiles, as I call them, across the journey, and I get the whole organization to think about this and to be working to the same thing, then I get what I call here organization, or actually success by design, because I don't leave it to chance. I build in the frameworks, the mechanisms to make it happen as effectively as we can. Is it going to be perfect? No, it's not. But do I think by taking this company-wide approach that it works? I know it works. I've done it. I've done it with my own company. I've done it with a couple of companies that I work with now. It works. And it gets you from this concept of customer success as a company-wide philosophy to actually, this is how you make it happen. This is how you bring it to life. So to me, what is it all about? It's my definition. It's everything, and it is everything the organization does to profitably, because you're either going to be profitable now or you need to be at some point in time, win, satisfy, retain, and grow. It's not just about post-sales. Chosen customers, ideal customer profile, better than the competition, because you've always got competition. And by the way, quite often competition is not somebody else offering the same sorts of products or services that you do. Competition is where else can those people, those individuals, those teams spend their money other than with you. Competition is usually, a lot of lost deals are not lost to competition, they're lost to other opportunities within the organization. That's why being able to communicate, present, sell, deliver value that they understand is so important. So that's it. If you want to know more, this is a shameless plug for the book. It's called Customer-Led Growth. I've been very fortunate, got some great reviews. You can buy it on any Amazon store near you. That's a link to amazon.com, but you can get it on .co.uk, you can get .in, and a few others as well. So if there is anything, I'd be happy to take any questions.
Alrighty, this was amazing. We have one comment. Pam is saying the challenge is how not to build silos as you grow. Indeed, huh?
Well, I think the first thing, Pam, is that you're aware of it. The second thing is you've got to focus on the mechanisms that cross company. By the way, if you ask the question all the time, what does this mean to customers? What does this mean to customers? Customers don't care about your silos. They don't care about your departments. They don't care about, other than dealing with nice people and people with competence, whether they work in sales or marketing or customer success. We get hung up about that. So the thing I always keep doing, and what I did at my companies and the companies I work with, is said, what will the customer think about this? How will this affect our ability to deliver great value, measurable value to the customer? Which, by the way, was, I started writing the book as a book for customer success leaders, but got some advice from somebody else, I think, who's a good friend, a really wise guy called Rav Dhaliwal, is now an investor. And he said, great ideas, Dave, but you've got the wrong audience. Your ideal customer should be the CEO. And if she or he doesn't believe this, then my advice is go and find somewhere else to work. It is that fundamental.
Awesome. You gave us a lot to think about. So thank you so much, David. Looks like we are ready to jump right into our next session. This has been amazing. Definitely, you gave us a lot to think about.
Thank you.
Hopefully, we'll chat again really soon. Thanks a lot.
If anybody's got any questions that arise that they think about, then best place to find me is on LinkedIn, David Jackson UK.
And very good. And we do have the link here in chat, so everyone check it out and send a connection request to David.
Thank you.
Thanks. And we are moving right into our next session. Thanks, everyone. See you there.